Alright, here we go. Now, this is the plans I printed out from Flite Test Online. This is for the FT3D. These are tiled plans, printed off on the PDF format. I printed it off as actual size vertical, and it comes out like this. And I don't like to lay out the plans and glue or tape everything all together at the same time. What I like to do is just find the pieces individually, arrange them how I'm actually going to glue them together, and cut out the pieces. I find it much more simpler than actually having to lay out a gigantic plan and having to cut out all the individual pieces. So you can do it any way you feel like, but that's just the way I feel more comfortable doing it. So what I have here is a horizontal stabilizer for the FT3D, and I'll show you what I do to get this taken care of. So the file prints out vertically, and as you can see, these lines right here are supposed to align exactly up with the rest of them. As you can see right here, these lines meet up just like this. As you can actually notice that these lines don't go all the way to the edge of the page, which is perfectly fine. You can imagine there's a line between these. So, how I'm actually going to connect them together is old-fashioned glue. I just get this all glued up. And I'm going to attach it. Voila! Nice and simple. What I do is I'll cut it out with scissors. Give yourself a little bit of area to work with if you're however you're adhering it to the foam board. And be sure to have a garbage can handy to get rid of all of it. There we go. There we have our horizontal stabilizer we're going to be making. So then I grab our Adams Ready board. This is the Ready board I get straight from Dollar Store. As you can see, Adams. Now this has a good side and a bad side. Obviously this one's been used. But a bad side you can actually notice if you can see it. They actually have these wavy lines in here, is where it actually sits on a drying rack. So you actually want that facing up, because this will be our good side that we're going to have on the outside or on the top. So we want bad side up. Find a place on here. That looks fine for me. I grab some painting tape. I just tack it on here. So that way when I remove it, it doesn't remove any paper from the foam board. And I'm able to get a few uses out of the tape if you want to. Or if it has some tape that does peel up the paper on the foam board, you can actually just take the tape and press it against your pants or shirt or something, and it removes some of the adhesiveness, and that will actually reduce the paper tearing. Alright, it's good enough for government work. And here we go. Now, to actually transfer all these lines onto the foam board, what you can use is rulers to help for the straight edges. And I use a razor blade, the extendable kind, extend and retract. And to keep it sharp, I use a good old-fashioned kitchen sharpener. Because these are razor blades, obviously they will dull, and dull pretty quickly when you're actually cutting foam board. So, and any time you feel that it's going to get dull, you can just sharpen it up. And you have a good knife still. So, we're going to start transferring the lines from our paper into the foam board paper. Now, I'm not going to cut all the way through. I'm actually just going to barely cut through the paper and transfer to the paper underneath on the foam board. I'm not going to cut as thick as all the way through. So, how we have it done right now is we're going to start from the center and work out. Because as we keep cutting, we're cutting away actual paper. Alright, so you can start using straight edges if you like. And you just cut through. Just like that. If you want to look the other side, you can see, and you can see it right there. It's actually transferred through the paper. So there we go. And I just ripped my paper a little bit. But that's fine. There we go. Good as new. Okay. Since I've been doing this so long, I'm just going to freehand all this. Also, on another note, So as you can see right now, as I'm cutting, all this paper just falls off. So if you didn't get to the middle, you're going to lose out. You're going to have to try to piece it back together and get those spots you missed. And there we have it. Now I remove everything. And there we have it. Now we just transferred it on there. And you can kind of see a little bit right here that some of the paper got peeled off. But yeah, like I said, you can use your pants or something to remove some of the stickiness. Alright, so now that we transferred it through, you can get rid of the plans. Keep that garbage can handy. So, we're actually going to start cutting all the way through the outer edges of this plan. And how I do that, it cuts directly through to the board. And I just start cutting off chunks. You start getting edges on here. And as you're coming through board, the longer the blade you use, the smoother the cut's actually going to be. And then when you start doing this, of course, it's good to have a good sharp knife. Alright, let's cut. Bam, it's cut. Not bad. Get the other side, see if we can get it a little smoother. Now I've been using this knife for, I think, 2 planes now I've actually cut with this knife. That's a lot of cutting. Alright. I'll make this a little smaller. Easier to work with. Now, another note if you find yourself in a corner and you can't get through a round edge, now, I've learned through woodworking and such, if you start feeling binding in your knife, you can actually start cutting relief cuts. Let's get it all the way through. You actually start cutting relief cuts, and that means you just start cutting like little leaves through here, so then as you cut, I can show you. Make sure they're actually cut all the way through. Now, I'll show it this way. I want to start cutting left hand and show you my ambidexterity. Now, I'm going to start cutting. And the piece actually starts coming off. So if you're cutting around corners, you can actually start removing pieces, relieving pressure on the knife. See, all of this just comes off piece by piece. So you don't have to cut yourself into a corner that you can't get out of. Alright. Continuing on. Actually, what I like about these blades is just how formable they are. You can actually bend them as you cut. So as I'm coming around the corner, you can kind of see that knife actually bend. So I can actually get around, get a nice edge. So there we go. That's the outside form of it. You start cutting out the middle pieces. See, that kind of transfers through there. And I can kind of poke that through. That's one. Okay. So with these, they actually, you cut through right there, cut through right there. So I'll actually start doing this. And this is going to be a 90%, pardon me, a 50% score cut. Let me get this cleared up a little bit here. So I always say, keep the garbage can handy. Alright. So 50% score cut. Get your straight edge on here. Now, the other thing I like about this, you can actually change the depth. Actually get on here, you can actually take a look. Oh, that's going to be too deep. Look at that. That looks about 50%. So, to get it on here, I take it one more out because I'm still actually cutting through the thickness of this. Don't worry, it won't cut through, especially if I'm cutting at an angle. Now, I'm going to get my 50% score cut. And unlock the blade, close it. Now, there it is. Right here, the start of a control surface. And proof, it's real Adam's foam board. Alright, we're going to take a break.